Well, hey everyone. Hey, that was Bruce Springsteen with the songs Born to Run and Dancing in the Dark. So, as we do, let's take a deeper look at the lyrics and see what we see. So, the first one, Born to Run, this is really in the hero's journey, this is the dissolution. So, this is the recognition of the insanity that we're born into and the inspiration to make a change. So in the day, we sweat it out on the streets of a runaway American dream, so the fallen state of man. At night, we ride through mansions of glory in suicide machines. So, and you could even look at this perhaps as day being the representation of those aligned with the Christic elements. So you're sort of pinned into those of us who are good. We just sweat it out on the streets of a runaway American dream. And then at night, so those of us who aligned with the anti-Christic elements ride through mansions of glory and suicide machines. So the sort of hedonistic pursuit of power, perhaps that's what's being referred to, sprung from cages out on Highway 9. So 9 is divine, sprung from cages, the sort of realization of self, perhaps, chrome-wheeled, fuel-injected, and stepping out over the line. Oh, baby, this town rips the bones from your back. It's a death trap. It's a suicide rap. Society was created by death cults, all about death. We got to get out while we're young, while we're still alive, because tramps like us, baby, we're born to run. So tramps being the outcast of society, which when society is created by the Antichrist, then that's a very good thing to be an outcast. So tramps like us, baby, we were born to run. We were born to do so much more than live in this slave reality. Yes, girl, we were. Girl, the divine feminine, that divine essence that moves us, the spirit that animates. Wendy, let me in. I want to be your friend. So going within to connect with that inner self. I want to guard your dreams and visions. So the Christ moves us to guard the purity. Just wrap your legs around these velvet rims and strap your hands across my engines. So hold on, buckle up, go within and connect with that source within, the inspiring essence. Together we could break this trap. We'll run till we drop, baby. We'll never go back. Oh, will you walk with me out on the wire, the leap of faith, letting go of the fear? Because, baby, I'm just a scared and lonely rider, because we do it alone, but I got to know how it feels. I want to know if love is wild, babe. I want to know if love is real. Oh, can you show me? So this could even be referring to the creation of this experience itself. I got to know how it feels. Well, the only way we really know how love truly feels, when we are the complete and whole embodiment of that, is to experience the absence of it and then rekindle that connection, which is what this experience has been about. So moving on, beyond the palace, Hemi-powered drones scream down the boulevard. All the noise of the fallen state. The girls comb their hair in rear view mirrors, and the boys try to look so hard. So the inverted masculine and feminine. The amusement park rises bold and stark. Kids are huddled on the beach in a mist. I want to die with you, Wendy. And her name's Wendy. So like Wendy, wind as in the breath, on the streets tonight in an everlasting kiss. So I want to die with you as in the death and resurrection, letting the ego self dissolve and die so that we can be reborn. 1, 2, 3, 4, the highway's jammed with broken heroes. So this could be signifying the alchemical process, moving from the root to the heart being the fourth, or the transmutational point, the connecting point. Could be more in that. The highway's jammed with broken heroes on a last chance power drive. So broken heroes are those who have tried and failed at this this path and fallen into pride or any temptation of pleasure or any of that. Everybody's out on the run tonight, but there's no place left to hide, because this is all there is. There's nowhere left to go. Together, Wendy, we can live with the sadness. I'll love you with all the madness in my soul. Oh, someday, girl, I don't know when we're going to get to that place where we really want to go, and we'll walk in the sun, SUNSON. But till then, tramps like us, baby, we were born to run. So to keep on this path. And then it repeats from there. So yeah, that's that song, Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. Definitely inspired by the recent biopic film that looks very good. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to see it. And then the next one, Dancing in the Dark. So I get up in the evening. So this song's really about it's another song that's kind of recognizing the fallen state and finding that inspiration to move out of it. So Dancing in the Dark, which is what we are all doing, especially in this time of darkness, or this night, or this roughly 12,500 years where it's been night. We're moving into day, but we've been in night, so we're dancing in the dark. I get up in the evening and I ain't got nothing to say. I come home in the morning and I go to bed feeling the same way. So just the repetitive, maddening process of society, the loops that we get put on. I ain't nothing but tired. Man, I'm just tired and bored with myself. Hey there, baby, I could use just a little help. So that's when we tap in and meet her, the divine inspiration. She moves us and she breaks us free from those cycles, the cue break. So this is the recognition of stagnation, which is essential to humbly acknowledge that I have been stuck in a loop. That's we have to see the loop in order to break out of it. So we have to first see it. And then that's the surrender. Hey there, baby, I could use just a little help. A surrender to the divine to say, I want something different. I want something more. So continuing, you can't start a fire without a spark. So that's that initial drive to have that fire begin. The baptism of fire that cleanses all away, all the stuff that's no longer serving us, so that we can be reborn as the phoenix rising from the ashes. But you can't start a fire without a spark, without that initial drive and that commitment, that surrender to say, I'm ready for this, to take this leap of faith. This gun's for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. So this gun's for hire is in, I'm committing myself for God to use me as a tool, for that divine influence to flow through me. So this gun's for hire is as in I'm ready for that. I'm ready to be hired. Higher, to go higher. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. So even in this fallen state, even in the night, to make that commitment to the Christ. Message keeps getting clearer. Radio's on and I'm moving around the place. So as we meditate more and gain more clarity, the message keeps getting clearer. The radio's on, we're receiving, and I'm moving around the place. So we're able to move more freely and flow through and not be so restricted by the limitations of those bound to needing external validation. When we have that internal radio signal tapped in correctly, then we're able to move around the place. I check my look in the mirror. I want to change my clothes, my hair, my face. So that's the dissolution of the old self, the death, to let the old identity go, to be open to the change and wherever the divine flows us to. This ever evolving role that I'm playing, not to get stuck in some identity or some specific character. You know, nothing wrong with characters. We can employ the most beautiful, extravagant, exciting characters, and we should, because this is an amazing story. But just don't get stuck on any one role. Be open to the flow. Man, I ain't getting nowhere. I'm just living in a dump like this. There's something happening somewhere, baby. I just know that there is. So again, just getting tired of the old ways and the ways society puts us into. You can't start a fire. You can't start a fire without a spark. This gun's for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. You sit around getting older. There's a joke here somewhere, and it's on me. I'm sitting around getting older, and I'll shake this world off my shoulders. Come on, baby. The laugh's on me. So do not take yourself so seriously. You know, like this is a joke of sorts, you know, like you as the culmination of consciousness, God, you know, the source, which we all are aspects of. So you at your highest level is that. You decided, okay, this perfection and complete unity is great and all, but how can I experience myself? How can I learn about myself? How can I experience love and all this that I am even more so? Oh, well, I'm going to have to forget that I am that and then throw myself into an experience and remember. And so we did that. We took a rock and we beat our head, you know, to knock ourselves out and forget who we were. So it's kind of a joke. It's kind of a funny God schizophrenic moment, right? Where we emerged in infinite personalities. So it's kind of a joke. So don't take it so seriously, but play it seriously. Be serious in it, but don't take it too seriously where you get lost in it. That's the balance, right? So come on, baby, the laugh's on me. Stay on the streets of this town and they'll be carving you up all right. They say you got to stay hungry. Hey, baby, I'm just about starving tonight. So we got to be hungry for the divine, hungry for her to flow in and move us. I'm dying for some action. I'm sick of sitting around here trying to write this book. I need a love reaction. Come on, baby, give me just one look. So our continued working with meditation practices and being open and surrendered to that. That's sort of describing that process. And then it repeats those lines, even if we're just dancing in the dark. So sort of reflecting on this experience again. So yeah, that was Bruce Springsteen again with the songs Born to Run and Dancing in the Dark. So, hey everyone, glad to be here. Glad to be doing these again. It's been now over a month since my last Quest-i-ons show. So I'm very grateful to be here and very grateful to be checking back in and having these. I'm hopeful that I will be able to resume this normal schedule. Though, you know, my travel plans are still up in the air quite a bit in the near future. So we'll see. But I'm going to do my best to keep that cadence because I do enjoy having a opportunity to check in. So just some very brief announcements. Just a reminder for everyone that I am 100% donation supported to do all that I do. So if you do find yourself wanting to contribute to help out with all that goes on here, all the efforts of posting things and doing shows and answering questions and working with people and helping others, here's a place where you can do that, justincarpenter.org/contribute. And I'm still very much engaged with Bali and the orphans in Uganda. So they are still, right now, they are looking for support to see if this page, yeah, so this page is still up. So you can go to giftsandgo.com/Lions of Uganda if you want to help contribute through that, or just any way that you can send to me. Just make a note that you'd like it to go towards Bali, and I will certainly get it there. So right now what they're facing is the landlord is increasing pressure on him to find another place for him and the children to live. And there's, I think there's around 30 children that are living there now, and they have a lot of children that come from the community to get food and support, and just kids that are in bad homes, bad situations. And he says, I can't turn anybody away. When they come for help, I have to help them, which I get that. I would totally do the same. So anyway, they're facing increasing pressure from their landlord to move, and he doesn't have the financial, ability to really move somewhere quickly. So that would be just some area. I got some numbers from him of like how much realistically would he need to, because fortunately they do have a piece of property for sale right next door, and they did a lot of work on a chicken coop that they want to get chickens so that they have a regular source of eggs for the community. So fortunately this chicken coop is bordering this property that they can purchase. And the current landlord said that they could retain the chicken coop if they were able to purchase this new land and move there. And the guy who has the land said he'd be willing to work with them for like a rent to own kind of deal for that. So I asked him just roughly, how much would you need for that? And I don't have I'd have to pull up the messages where he said exactly, but it was less than $10,000 to get the property and build the home. Build a sufficient home that could house them all was less than $10,000, which, by American standards and most everyone listening standards, that's crazy inexpensive to get land and build a home all under that amount. So I'm just putting that out there. I know everyone is helping in the best ways that they can, but perhaps you know somebody that would be willing to sponsor something like that has, that kind of funding. I'd be happy to connect them with Bali and could interview them further, get more information, figure out exactly how much it would be. So just want to put that out there. If anyone has any leads or any way to do that, it would be so helpful to get them into a space where they're not feeling this pressure to build a home that's sufficient for their needs and to be in the same location, so they're not having to shift everything to a far off distance space. So just want to put that out there. I'm doing my best to work on my end, and so any help with that is greatly appreciated. So happy to help if anyone wants to connect on that further. So thank you so much for your attention there. And so we'll just jump into more of the show today. That's good for announcements. And let me just stop this. I was going to turn my camera on today. I haven't done that in a while, and just say hi to you guys, because also as a part of recent news, which I'm sure many of you have seen, the YouTube channels that have been being returned to various creators. Santos was the first one that I saw that got his big channel back. And so I applied for mine, and sure enough, YouTube gave it right back. So with no explanation, no further, reasoning behind why I was labeled cyberbullying and harassment, which is why they claimed my channel was removed years ago. But they gave it back. So I'm grateful for that. And it seems that the censorship algorithms within the platform have been shifted considerably. I don't know if it's completely gone, but at least enough to where these ridiculous reasons that they gave aren't holding any longer. So I have my old channel back, Wandering Toward Truth, which, I'm very excited to have, very excited to have that returned to me. And so I've been starting to play around with it, and I'll just share the share the screen here so you can see that in case you're interested in joining me there. And I will be posting this video on that channel as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, we are currently on Telegram, and this is where we have our weekly calls. So in the whole time that I was away from, well, not completely away from YouTube, but away from this channel specifically, I would do these weekly calls on Telegram, where we have a way to connect and speak about things. And if you haven't been on Telegram before, it's wonderful because it gives the option to really have anybody speak up. It's kind of like a radio talk show, but it's even more flexible than that. So I really enjoy using this. And if you are on YouTube and want to come join us on Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we try and do this every week, where it's just a great time to connect. And I guess I didn't even mention the name of the show. So this is the Quest-i-ons series. And I say that to break up the word question into Quest-i-ons, because it is the quest I am on, and it's the quest to illuminate the single eye, the quest to turn on the single eye. So that single eye is separate. And so that's why we call it that. And it's just a space where we can gather and ask questions and see what comes up. There's nothing that's off limit or off topics, anything that we can't discuss or go over, because it's all connected. There's really not, there is nothing outside of anything that isn't connected to everything. And we can find that thread, we can tug on it and see where it goes. And so I love that process together. And yeah, we've been doing this series for over a year now, well over a year. And maybe, I don't know, I don't even know when I started this series, but it's been quite a while. And so I will be starting to post these videos onto this channel, Wandering Toward Truth, to keep everyone updated there. And yeah, I'll be doing more fun stuff on that channel as well. So stay tuned for more lives and things on that channel. And I'll be uploading a lot of my older stuff on there as well to have it more consolidated and easier to find. And so, yeah, exciting things, really exciting to have that. This was all amidst the very busy few weeks that I've had, which has kept me from doing my regular shows, where I've been working with PeaceMaker Aldo in Virginia Beach. And I explained before I left, but just to reiterate, he was running for sheriff here locally in Virginia Beach. Unfortunately lost the election, at least by their standards. It looks like there's a whole bunch of fishy business going on with the election, and it looks like that's happening all over the place in the country. So, he's not dissuaded from continuing to move and restore justice back to our systems as much as it is possible, at least until the systems break and fall apart, and we can rebuild them, as we know is coming. But in the meantime, we're still dealing with these systems. We're still dealing with people's lives and things that are happening, and it's not always a easy thing to go through. It's it can be quite dangerous. So yeah, I won't get into his whole story, but it's a fascinating one, where he's had the entire establishment very corrupt here, trying to silence him, keep him from spreading the message that he is spreading. And a big reason for that is he's wanting to restore the grand jury oversight, which is, if you're not familiar, the grand jury was supposed to be the route for the public to hold any officials or anyone accountable for wrongdoing in a community, because the jury is supposed to be the highest decision-making authority within the judicial process, not the judge. The jury is. And so this allows people to have recourse if you run into a corrupt judge, corrupt police officer, corrupt whomever, to not be able to hide behind the bar and the system that's been established, but to actually have that ability to enforce that. So a grand jury paired with a militia and hopefully a peacemaker sheriff, someone who is working for the people. When you have all those aligned, then you can't have people getting away with corrupt things. It just doesn't happen. So that's why he was running for sheriff, but not going through in that avenue, at least as of yet. He is going to be refocusing his attention on the grand jury restoration, which I've been helping out with as far as creating websites and messaging and posts and videos and all of that towards that. So yeah, that's likely the plan moving forward, is more efforts on that. And I really do enjoy working with Aldo. He's a very, very good man, very dedicated to this process. He's had a whole whirlwind of things thrown at him, including being thrown in jail unfairly and kept in solitary confinement for 73 days, which is crazy. That would break just about anybody, but it didn't. They tried to starve him. They tried to ration his water, dehydrate him. They tried to kill him in this space until, fortunately, his friends were very vocal of like getting him a health check, and the health check very quickly determined that he needed nourishment and he needed hydration. So they unfortunately stopped that. But it's just crazy that they did this to him, and yet it didn't stop him. He only got stronger through that process, and he's more dedicated. He spent a lot of time in meditation. When all they would provide him to eat were just toxic sludge, he would fast, and he's very dedicated. So, you pissed off the wrong guy, and he's ready for whatever it takes to do that. And, I've talked a lot about, in recent posts, I've talked about the election process and exposing the sort of voter fraud, which I'm sure some maybe have questioned, like, okay, why is Justin talking about this? Didn't he already go over that there's rampant fraud within the voting system? What's the point of even voting if we haven't corrected the issue since 2020? And I get that. I totally do. It hasn't been corrected. It hasn't been addressed. I will say I was somewhat hopeful that maybe that level of corruption and fraud didn't exist at the local level. I was optimistic that maybe there wasn't enough of a reason for a wide scale fraud, but I was wrong. I was wrong in that, and it did happen. I can't definitively prove it, but I can say that my experience working with voters, campaigning at the polling stations, there was definitely more support for Aldo than his opponent, and yet we were led to believe that he lost 77% to 22.5%. It's just like those numbers don't add up. And especially when he had more momentum, much more momentum than last year, where he got about 27% of the vote. So it doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense, but it does make sense from a perspective of like, they do not want a man like this in the sheriff's office, because the sheriff does have quite a bit of authority when it's wielded correctly, as the Constitution describes it. And he very much knows that. So anyway, that's been what I've been preoccupied with for the last month. And it's been really a great experience, a tough experience, but a great experience to see that, get more involved with local efforts. And as I mentioned, I know that it's from some perspectives, it's seemingly fruitless to be engaging like this, knowing what's coming. However, at the same time, people's lives still are very much affected. One of the biggest reasons why Aldo was running was because of a huge injustice that happened here locally, where this young African-American kid, who I think was like a young adult, Eagle Scout, he was arrested for a misdemeanor charge of trespassing, which seems suspicious in and of itself, but a misdemeanor charge, and he was arrested. In jail, he was beaten to death while he was in handcuffs. Just like, and it took so the deputies knew they had fucked up, because the cover-up began immediately. He was admitted to, after he was dead, but he was admitted to the hospital for reasons, for like health reasons, not describing the actual injuries or what had happened to him. The videos took forever to be released. And what they did release, as far as the camera footage, showed very clearly that he was being beaten. They made efforts to keep the fact that he was in handcuffs while he was being beaten, but that can still be seen. And the rest of the footage they destroyed. So it's just like crazy. And there's been so much of a cover-up effort, not only by the local sheriff's department, but by the Commonwealth attorney and all the mechanisms within this place. It's just corruption at the highest levels. So that's been one of the things that he's been drawing attention to, is like, how can we stand by and let this murder happen and nobody's held accountable? That sure, after he made us think about it, the deputies were fired. But that was only after he made us think about it, after he drew attention to it. And still, so much resistance and so much delay in the court proceedings. I went to one of the court proceedings where it was just a fucking runaround of them, the defense attorney asking to have more time. They had set the court date in January, which is, I'll say 20 months after the incident happened. So almost 2 years, well over a year, well over a year and a half of time since the incident happened towards the court date being set. And then at this other court proceeding, they're asking to delay the court proceeding again until the summer, until June, for reasons they described as they couldn't get the experts that they needed to review this case. Which I'll translate that. They couldn't find people that would fucking lie about what happened. So they're looking harder to find people that will lie about this thing, because it's very obvious. The kid was beaten to death in handcuffs. So I say all that because while I do know what's happening at the larger level, people's lives are still very much being affected by these corrupt systems that are very much in place. Q has not had the opportunity to go after this kind of local corruption. They've had to keep their focus on the earth-wide influences. That's where the most harm can be caused on a wide scale. But there's still harm being caused at the local levels. So I find great inspiration to act and to find any way to at least draw attention to these kind of things. You know, at least draw attention, because the darkness does not like light being shown on it. So that's what we're working on, and we're working on restoring the grand jury authority within this space so that we can go after these local corrupt monsters. And we'll see where it goes. And you know, I frame it as like, I want to meet Q in the middle. Q is a top-down approach. The white hats are working at the top down, and they're working their way down. But let's meet them in the middle. You know, so if anyone wants to find more about that, you can find his website. Let me just share that real quickly. restoregrandjuryrights.org. It's a space you can go to learn more about that and learn more about inspiring perhaps your county to get involved with something like this. He gives a very easy process of how to sign up, what sort of documents that you need to send, and what that looks like to start this process, and then even the process for implementing a PeaceMaker sheriff. If your current sheriff isn't willing to support this, then there are methods to shift that. So this is the site where you can go and you can find more information about it. And I'm helping him sort of create that onboarding process with new counties and make the least costing methods so that counties have organizational structure in a way to do this without needing to pay for a big tech guy and somebody to, you know, spend lots of money on building websites and things like that. He wants to have it be done in a simple and as cost-effective way as possible. So long story short, or long story still long, that's what I've been working on. That's what I've been doing, is being heavily involved with this, and there's still a lot more to do. So I'm not sure exactly, there's been talk I might stick around Virginia Beach for at least a little bit. Granted, I'm going to go see my family and whatnot in the area as well, and do a few other things. I do plan on going to, so y'all know Jeff with the Foxhole Foundation. I'm going out to his property and if you don't know, if you haven't heard, the Foxhole Foundation is a group that I've been with since Hurricane Helene, who has been tireless in supporting anyone who's been affected by disasters, and then also veteran aid. So any sort of veteran support. And Jeff is just an angel. Jeff and Nadine, the co-founders, they are just so helpful. But one of their next sort of projects is to create a veteran retreat center on Jeff's property. And that's in not West Virginia, but Western Virginia. So same state, but on the opposite end of the state. So we'll likely be going there in the next week or so to help him get some work done there, and then go see some family. And then who knows after that, might come back here, might go see some other people. But I do want to keep helping Aldo with these efforts, because it does seem like a very, very beneficial thing to get involved with. And so if anyone's interested in helping out in any which way, volunteering in any capacity with that, if you find, if you want to look through that website, restoregrandjuryrights.org, if you have any ideas on ways to help out there, or ways to pitch in, or just want to, let me know, and I'm sure we can get you involved in some way, somehow. So yeah, that's that's what's been happening. So here we are for this Quest-i-on on November 13th, 2025, after a very lengthy introduction, but I appreciate y'all's patience with that. And yeah, so just want to kind of get into sort of current events and what's happening a little bit. Darth had brought up some things to me that might be good to mention on the show, and I asked if he would maybe introduce them, since he's been learning more about them, and then we can talk a bit more about that. So it's good to see you on here, brother Darth, and I'll pass it over to you and see if you want to share about what you learned. I probably caught him right in the worst time. He might be doing something else. No worries if that's the case. So just overall, it seems like it is heating up considerably as far as what's happening on the world stage. We just had this government shutdown. Oh, there he is. Go ahead, brother.
I don't know why the mute button moved 2 inches to the right, and I just lost it. But I found it. Okay, so the biggest piece of news. Well, there's two pieces. So there was a woman by the name of Tina Peters, and she was a Mesa County clerk. And she was not a conspiracy theorist. She wasn't involved in Q. She was just a regular grandma, and her son. She'd never been arrested before. No criminal record. Her son was died in the armed forces, so she's a Gold Star mom. She's like the perfect citizen, and she was involved on the election committee for her local county, and she noticed some irregularities with the computer systems, and so she did her job, and she brought that to the attention of the authorities. And what happened is that the local cabal actually had her arrested for revealing this information according to the proper policies and procedures, and she was sentenced to 9 years. She's a cancer survivor. She's an elderly woman. She doesn't belong in prison, and she's had a really rough go of it. And Trump has actually commented on her situation, saying that she needed to be released immediately. But the legal situation is that her charges are state charges, and Trump is at the federal level. So there's no federal charges for him to pardon. And legally he just can't order someone at the state level to be released. However, he's been doing everything that he can do to pressure people to release her, but she's out of time now, and her health has taken a severe turn for the worse. Spitting up blood, coughing up blood, that sort of thing. Indications of a return of cancer. And the food that she's being served in prison is just, it's roadkill would be an improvement. It's a high stress environment of abusive staff, that sort of thing. And now she has a matter in that environment. She has a matter of days less, because they're not going to treat her cancer. They'll give her aspirin, and that's about it. And she doesn't need that. She needs to receive the highest medical care right now. So if she's not released out of there in just a little while, she'll be gone. And so I know that I know the Trump administration is starting to up the pressure. And so that kind of ties into the second thing. So we know that there's massive fraud whenever you bring in a electronic counting device for the elections. And Trump has the authority to change things at the federal level. He can say, listen, paper ballots only, and all has to be in person. So no mail-in ballots. He can say that for the federal level, but that won't rectify all the fraud that's occurring at the county and state levels. So the next level of acceleration in this war that we're waging is, from what I understand, he's getting ready to sign an executive order. He's going to declare a national state of emergency, and that will broaden the range of his authority all the way down to the county and state level, where he will be able to issue an order saying that ballots have to be in person, no mail-in ballots, and it has to be paper ballots, paper counted. And it has to be done fairly soon, because you need time to implement the order. So like he couldn't say the order like the day before the midterm elections or the day before the federal elections, because there's no time to implement it. So, and when that happens, that will be an extreme act of provocation for what's left of the deep state, because all the elections are stolen all the time, everywhere, down to the town. So without that fraud, they can't maintain the illusion of their numbers. And they can't steal the elections, and that's really the seat of their power. So that's the two things that are pretty serious. And then the other one last thing, I know we didn't talk about it, but I'll mention it. So Venezuela was one of the wealthiest countries in the world. They actually have more oil than Saudi Arabia, but they're a captured state. They're actually run by the cabal through Cuba, and they have run that. They've run Venezuela down to the dirt, and some of the other countries there in South America. It's gotten so bad that everyone that could flee has fled, but for those that are remaining, all the cats and dogs disappeared. You can't find cattle anywhere. And then after the cats and dogs disappeared, a lot of the mice and the rats have started to disappear because the people are starving to death. And that suffering is very real. So that's and that's also where a lot of the election interference was run through servers that were located down there in South America. So that's a situation that's about to be addressed very soon. So prayers for Tina Peters. For she does not belong in prison, and they are trying to kill her through the passive circumstances, and few things are as cruel as a prison guard. So that's the information that I was given.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's so infuriating to hear about something like that. It's very similar to what they did to Aldo. So just long story short, they arrested him on charges in that one having to deal with his divorce court case because he had moved funds from one account to another, and he had told the court, hey, I want to move these funds from this account to this one, transparently, not trying to hide anything. He had submitted so many requests that he be able to move these funds from this account that was doing poorly as an investment into another. And they just ignored him. Didn't reply anything back. So eventually he was just like, okay, well, you guys haven't responded. I've sent you X amount of requests and I'm just going to move them, and I'm moving them here. Here's the paper trail. Here's the transparency. He moved them there. And then months later, that's what they arrested him on charges that he was like trying to hide or moved his money illegally, dealing with the divorce case. So it's just bullshit. And it was premarital money too. So it's just outrageous that they get him on something like that. Those charges have a maximum penalty of 10 days. 10 days in jail that they could have held him by their standards. Yet they kept him in solitary confinement for 73 days and probably would have kept him there if his parents were not able to pay bail, which they first didn't even allow bail. But then they set the bail at like $1.3 million and didn't give him access to any of his funds. So who knows how long they would have kept him there. And while he was there, they're giving him, as you mentioned, just absolute trash of food. So his health was declining. They were like rationing his water to like 15 ounces a day or less. So not giving him hardly any water. Unfortunately, his friends found out about this and they went through the proper channels to petition for a health check on him. And the guy who checked his health was like, yeah, this guy needs nourishment and a major change in what's going on. This is not good. So that fortunately stops his health deterioration, at least somewhat. Of course, it's still not great in a space like that. But they were able to stop that. But one of the ways that they gave him access to water was just by turning his urinal water on. So forcing him to drink out of the urinal if he wanted extra water. So it's just like fucking, these are fucking sick animals, the ways that they treat people. So I can only imagine what she's going through, and especially someone who's not as fit and young as he is. He's a very, very fit, capable dude. He's not somebody you'd want to mess with. I don't know if he was a championship wrestler, but was big into wrestling, and he's a very capable, healthy guy. So to know what they did to him and to imagine what they're doing to her, it is infuriating. I do hope that, I'm not going to say that it's just a story because it could very likely be very real. But I do hope that it is just a story to inspire more people to action by the white hats, because I know they do that sometimes. However, I'm not saying that that's certain. It very likely could be very real, and she's very much suffering. And you might ask, well, why doesn't Trump do more things, or why don't the white hats step in and all of that? It's like, they can't, this mission is so critical, they can't create too much of a stir or overstep these legal limitations until it's ready. You can't like halfway do it. So it's all or nothing. When they expose it, they're going to do the whole thing. So until then, it's very sensitive, and it has to be done very carefully. So Trump's doing the most he can, given the legal confines that he's restricted to. But I am hopeful that something will happen, something will materialize, or either way, the example will be helpful to inspire more people to action. Because what he's working on as far as his executive order, I mean, he just released an executive order in March of this year about election integrity, but that still had the limitations at the state level and the local level of what he can get involved with. And so if that is expanded, that would be monumental. And I don't know if they're going to go over these recent elections. It seems like they would have to, but that would be quite something, because I suspect that they flipped the vote. Like how that would be the easiest way to corrupt a count with minimal programming, is you just have an if-then statement. If their establishment candidate, whoever they want to win, they just assign them with whichever tally as the most votes. So no matter what count comes out, it's got the name of their desired candidate as the winner. That's my belief of how they do it, how they flip it in that way, but we shall see. So yeah, it's very exciting to know that, and know that there are, of course, we know there are efforts being done. And I did suspect this was another layer of the sting operation to expose more bad actors, even at the local levels. And we'll see what happens next. So thanks for sharing that. And it's like I said, oh, go ahead.
Hey, it's Lila. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to comment on that. Just, also that she's in the state of Colorado, which has a lot of issues, as we know, a lot of deep state situations going on all over, but especially Colorado. And I have been shocked to see it in Virginia. I didn't think it would be here in this way, but obviously it's happening here. So I could just see how much she would be suffering there. And I did want to say that I posted in the chat some different information, but I'm gonna, if you don't mind, Justin, can I read it for anybody who might be listening to this and might want to get that information?
Yeah, please.
Good. So an urgent call to action. We cannot allow one more day for Tina's release. We do not let up until Tina is out. And so we've got the governor of Colorado, Jared Paulus. He's blocking her release. He's at 303-866-2885. And the front desk there is 303-866-2451. What I know about my own campaigning, with medical freedom mandates and things like that, you just keep calling. So if somebody has, maybe don't have money or anything you can give to this, but if you have a couple hours, just keep calling and keep saying the same thing. She doesn't deserve to be in there. Please consider, a humanitarian approach to this situation, things like that. And then we have Attorney General Pam Bondi, of course. She's at 202-514-2001. And the Department of Justice main switchboard is 202-514-2000. And then we've got the department comment line, 202-353-1555. And then there's also the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, that you can contact. He's at the Department of Justice main switchboard, 202-514-2000. And the department comment line is 202-353-1555, just like I had said above. Then just to give the support to Trump, and I think that that's very helpful, that they can say, hey, we've had 100,000 calls around this, or, this gives leverage. Of course, there's the White House phone number, 202-456-1111 or the White House switchboard 202-456-1414. So yeah, just wanted to get those in here for anyone who's just listening to audio, and this is really something we can do. And and for as far as the bigger picture, I just wanted to say that is something that I'm seeing, and it's been really beautiful to be seeing it in the different channels and groups that I'm in here on Telegram and otherwise, that there seems to be sort of resurgent movement through the Patriot cause, which is like, it's been going, there's a lot going on here, there's a lot coming to fruition. And sometimes it can be very frustrating. It's like I hear a lot of people saying, like, when's it going to happen? What's taking so long? But I, for one, having been involved in this situation here in Virginia Beach, it's been incredibly healing and powerful to be deeply involved in this, and to be going out and talking to people and shaking people's hands, and even the negative exchanges have been very interesting. Hold space and stay kind, but also educate, even in the face of obvious corruption here, which I'm not going to go into, but it's been pretty interesting to really see it. So these are the ways, the grand jury movement too. Like, there's so much that we could be doing, and I feel so grateful to be a part of it. And also just I'd like to remind everybody that wherever you are, we do have that power to go and be working at this grassroots level, which I do think now it does have to go down to that. It's so interesting. This has kind of risen out of the grassroots. Now we have the president, and there is a lot going on there, and these really big game changing, quote unquote, realities. But then it seems to be going now, it has to go back to the grassroots to clean up the different states and the different pockets of corruption that are obviously still here. So thanks. I just wanted to make that comment. I really appreciate that. And I like this little thing, like Darth giving the news. He's like your Jeff. I don't know if you know who Jeffrey Jackson is. He's like the little reporter who on the High Wire with Del Bigtree, who I love, by the way. Jeffrey Jackson's amazing. And Darth coming in and giving the news for you. It's like, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, maybe we can maybe we can see if that become a regular thing. That'd be fun. Yeah. Thanks, Lila. And Lila's efforts have been so helpful through all this. I'm really grateful to have her be a part of it as well. And yeah, we'll just see kind of where it goes as far as it has been interesting to sort of weigh our options as far as fighting against these results and fighting against the certification and all of that, but they make it so challenging, especially when you've got the entire court system wrapped up into it together to even begin that without knowing an insane amount of legalese, jargon, and wordplay. So I don't think we're going to be able to challenge the election officially, but I mean, we could, but it just doesn't seem like it'd be a fruitful effort to spin our wheels in that direction, knowing that it might just be a huge waste of time and resources at the least, if not cause further issues. So that's why we're going towards the grand jury efforts as a avenue to hold corrupt officials accountable, and then maybe we could clean it up locally that way. So yeah, it's very interesting. And I was on, and Lila was on the call last night as well. We joined into a movement. Let me pull up the website in case anyone else is interested in joining, because it was really great. It was a really great conversation on America Free. Yeah, I think this is right. So let me just pull it up and verify. Okay, well, I lost I'll have to find the website where I joined from. But anyway, it was a great conversation with others who were passionate about the grand jury efforts and reestablishing that within their county. there has been, I know a few people have referenced the group Tactical Civics before. And I just want to say that I don't know what's going on with Tactical Civics. They seem to have been around for a while, and they appear like they help people establish grand juries within their counties. But there have been some concerns with how they've operated and the transparency involved with what they've done. I don't know if they're controlled opposition, but it certainly smells fishy. It's either a huge ego problem or controlled opposition. I don't know, but nothing ever goes anywhere, and all their information is behind a paywall. So it seems to be at the least just an ego-driven money-making scheme that's not really aimed at helping people, but at worst it could be controlled opposition. So anyway, I was in a group the other night with another group called America Free. Let me see if I can find their site. And they are simply, or largely, they are the, oh, here we go. I think I found it. Yeah. Okay. Here, I found it. So let me share this. But largely, they're people who realize that Tactical Civics group, and just to add on to the issues with Tactical Civics, they kicked out Aldo. He was asking too many questions to them, and they didn't like it. So they banned him from their group and blocked him from everything. So I know Aldo. I know he's a good man, and and he's very knowledgeable in this whole area. You want him on your side if you're wanting to implement these things correctly. So the fact that they kicked him out is a huge red flag for me. So anyway, this America Free is wanting to do this the right way, where it's like, hey, we're not putting up paywalls. We just want to help each other. We want to not be spinning our wheels isolated. And if we can help each other with graphics and flyers and websites and whatever, then let's pool our resources and see what we can do and learn from each other as well. So I went to the first meeting last night, which was phenomenal. And I'd suggest anyone, if you want to learn more about that, so you can go to freedomfox76.wixsite.com/America Free. That's that's where this site is, and there's a little join us button, and in that you'll get the email updates and all that. And they have meetings every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it was great because Scott McKay actually joined the call last night as well, which was great to see him joining in on something like that. Scott McKay, who's Patriot Street Fighter, who to me has always been a very kind man. You know, I've met him in person. He's said very kind things before, and I've never got a sense that, you know, I've never got anything other than a good sense from him. Don't always agree with everything that he says and talks about. But as far as what, you know, his character is, he seems to be a very good man. So, and he has a big platform. He's got a big audience. So the fact that he was jumping on a call like this, answering questions and helping to bring light to this, and also sort of discussing his, you know, his issues with Tactical Civics and what they've done, was a big showing. Because it's my understanding, just sort of learning about this, he gave a lot of attention to Tactical Civics to get them a lot of supporters. And then now he's sort of changing his tune because he's seen, you know, behavior that he doesn't align with. So anyway, just some more grassroots efforts of people getting excited about things. It was a very energetic call to be talking about these things and actually have tangible ways to pour our efforts into this. So especially for those who are here in the US, I'd suggest getting involved with something like this. If you have extra time on your hands or just want to be a voice and support, get involved with this group. I'm going to see if I can get Aldo on for next week's call after he gets back from vacation. And so we can talk more about the stuff that we're working on. So we're not, because I think there's a lot of efforts that we can collaborate and pull together. So anyway, just some more sort of grassroots efforts that are going on, and would suggest anyone who wants to get involved more so to step up. You know, this is the way that we can meet Q in the middle. As I said, there is this top-down approach, and it's so wonderful to have that, because it gives us hope. It gives us hope in knowing that things are being addressed at the highest levels, and it's a good sign that you're not going to have if you get loud enough, you're not going to have a hit put out on you by the puppet masters from the cabal, because that's what they would do. If you got loud enough and spoke enough about these efforts, they would eventually threaten you or take you out. And I'm not saying that every layer of that type of corruption is gone, but the most powerful ones are taken out. So we're just dealing with local corruption largely. And so that they have less ammunition to go after people. Of course, they still can. So be careful with everything. But this is a time where we can start to really add our voices to the mix and saying, I'm ready for this next step. I'm ready to start creating this next version of society and to model how we want to live. The Constitution, while it certainly has its flaws, is also a incredible framework that the founders intended. I do believe there's been some manipulations of that original document. However, largely it's a great framework, and whatever doesn't resonate or doesn't work, we don't have to take in. But to take this framework and start reestablishing that within our communities. And even if we don't succeed completely of rooting out the corruption within our local spaces, at least we have a lot more awareness of how we can do these things. And we start to align with people who we might want to see in positions like this. Once the standard corruption way of propping up only the establishment endorsed corrupt people, to actually have righteous people in positions that can serve their communities. So yeah, again, just get involved in any which way. And if you're curious and not sure which way to go or have ideas or whatever, you're always welcome to reach out to me and we can talk about that. So yeah. Thanks for hearing me out on that too. And yeah, so that's kind of, normally this is a Q&A. We haven't really gotten to any questions yet. But I'm grateful to be able to talk about all this and just catch everybody up on where we've been. And so let's transition to the Q&A portion. And I always like to say, I love to give priority for questions to those who are actually live here on the call, to those who have taken the time to want to speak and ask questions. And so if you are here and you're live, just hit that center button to open up to raise your hand and open up your mic, and then I can talk, or I can talk to you. And yeah, I do have offline questions I can get to as well, but I love the live ones. So I see Teresa M. It's good to see you, sister. And I see you raised your hand. So go ahead.
Hi, Justin. I know one time I shared a little bit with you about, tacticalcivics.com. And they have a plan about bringing back the grand jury and the militia. They have Zoom calls for training and educating because, it's going to take all of us to be educated to be on that grand jury. And I didn't know if maybe somebody would be interested in any of that.
Yeah, I hear you, Teresa. And yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up again. So that's what Tactical Civics claims to do. And largely they do have a lot of good information. It seems to be going in the right direction. But when it comes to execution of these plans, they seem to consistently fall short. And when there's any squabbling within their community or within other people, I know their founding members are often quite derogatory towards other people, labeling other people as defectors or problems. So there's a lot of just sort of, I can't say with definite certainty that there's anything nefarious going on, but there are a lot of red flags. And as I mentioned, the fact that PeaceMaker Aldo, who I know very well now to be a good man and dedicated to this mission, the fact that he was removed from Tactical Civics, blocked by them for asking questions about why they had the paywall, why they weren't helping people in certain instances, and all these different things, he was blocked. So if you're going to block somebody like that, who I know closely, that's a huge red flag for me. So I can't in good conscience endorse tactical civics or encourage people to join up with them. Of course, people are free to do as they like. But I've seen enough to not really trust their efforts and what they're doing. Like I said, best case scenario, it's an ego problem and they just kind of veered off the path. Worst case scenario, they are controlled opposition trying to squash the efforts of anyone who is actually trying to establish the grand jury, which is very possible. So that's been my experience viewing this group and hearing from others who have been a part of it. So yeah, thanks for the suggestion, but I would, kindly disagree with suggesting people go there. But again, people are free to do as they like. And like I said, the information that they do provide after you pay for it behind the paywall is seemingly very good. But why the paywall, and why all these questions, why all these other issues that happen? So anyway,
Can I add something?
of course.
Well, another place you could go, it's called tcrumble.com, and lots of videos there. You know how it is. Yeah, it does cost money to start things, I guess. I don't know why you're saying the $5. Are you talking about the $5 a month or $60 a year or something? I think. But there are other places you can go to get information about it, and then Zoom calls and other training. I know he's been questioned about that $5, but
Yeah, I hear you.
I think this is one of the better ones, and he's got lots of books. David Zuniga, you can get them on Amazon. Yeah, I don't know. I just like to see some of these two groups maybe come together.
I hear you. And if he's genuine, if they're genuine in this mission, then there should be no reason for that. However, that was a big topic of the discussion of many people who had left that group due to various issues. I mean, if you were there, you could have read all the issues that people had with why they were left, how they were treated as they left, reasons why they left, the things that were just outright not true about what was being said by the founding members of Tactical Civics. So to me, there's just too many red flags to want to get involved with that group. But again, people are free to do as they like. And as long as it's, you can still learn valid information there. This seems to be legitimate as far as the information goes, but yeah, too many red flags as far as the implementation. So that's just my perspective there. And of course, we're all free to go as we like. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. And yeah, did you have anything else, Teresa, or was that good for you?
Oh, no, that's good. Thank you.
Right. Well, thanks for chiming in. And yeah, I'll just pass it over and see if anybody else has anything they want to ask a question or share a comment or an experience or anything that's gone on in your life, and we'll go from there. Hey, Leah. Welcome. Good to see you, sister. Go ahead.
Hi, Justin. Hi, everybody. Sorry, just to steer it in another direction. Like, I was just so moved by everything that you have said beforehand, about that African American teenager. I was just really gutted by hearing that, and that was just really, really hurt my heart. But and also everything Aldo's gone through, like. Yeah, just weighted down a bit by the emotional impact it's had on me. I also just wanted to, like I said, steer it in a different direction. Now, I'm just not there yet about using Oren. But I've got this little infection in my eye. I'm pretty sure that there's something in my eye. And I was wondering, maybe I could just wanted to sort of get everyone's take on this. If I could put maybe that 3% hydrogen peroxide, maybe put drops to clear it up or to help it get rid of whatever's in my eye, because I can kind of feel something in my eye. And I was thinking maybe to flush it out or to help it a little bit, or maybe deal with the infection a little bit, something that's natural and where I don't need to go see one of these doctors. I'd appreciate some sort of guidance on that. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Just quickly, I would not suggest putting hydrogen peroxide in your eye. That would be quite painful. Yeah, I just from direct, not secondhand experience. My cousin mistook his hydrogen peroxide for for contact wash, and that was very painful for him. So do not suggest that. Hydrogen peroxide can be helpful in a lot of instances. However, it reacts very intensely. So it can be effective at cleaning wounds. As we know, it's kind of painful to do that. So, I mean, I don't think you would necessarily damage your eye if you did that. It just wouldn't be the route that I would go for that. So, so just quickly on that note, and then on, I mean, I know you said you're not up to using Orin yet. It's harder to ingest it. That takes a bigger leap to ingest it, but using it topically is, I mean, I've used it in my eyes and I find it to be very refreshing, and it feels better than any eye drops I've ever put in my eyes. Especially if I've been eating a lot of salty foods, then it can sting a little bit. But if my salt is low in my Orin, fresh Orin in the eyes is very soothing. So, I'd suggest maybe giving it a try and see how you feel. But another route to go, which would be gentler, would be chlorine dioxide. So that's MMS, the part A, part B mixture to create the active component, and then diluting that with water. Jim Humble, I'm pretty sure, has a eye protocol in there of what sort of amounts you should use to do that. In Australia, I'm not sure where you'd order something like that. But that would be a route that I would go versus the hydrogen peroxide. They both have similar effects, but chlorine dioxide is much gentler and potentially more effective as well. That was one thing that Jim Humble talked about was, because you can get benefit from hydrogen peroxide protocols in small amounts in water to sort of clean out the system. But his argument was chlorine dioxide works better and it's gentler. So why not use that? So that would be the route that I would go in that area. But besides that,
I have a suggestion.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. Go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I've had a lot of success with colloidal silver gel. But if you can't get the gel, even colloidal silver, you would dilute it in some water and then use an eye cup and rinse the eye. Maybe, up to four to 6 times a day, I would imagine. But weirdly, amazingly, I've had things that have gone on with my eye that I've tried all kinds of stuff for, and nothing got it. Even Orin, interestingly enough, but maybe it was the health of my Orin or something, I'm not sure. But the colloidal silver gel really seemed to do the trick. Another cheaper option if finances are an issue is this aggressive probiotic blend that you can make yourself with cabbage or kale, salt and water. And anyone's welcome. I'll post it in JC Family, but you're welcome to contact me if you want more information on that. But that's also something that I've seen work tremendously with eye infections, especially like pink eye, eye sty, these kinds of things. So that would be something else I would recommend that's super cheap. You know, you can buy a head of cabbage for $1 or $2, and you have more than enough that you need. And you can do a poultice on the eye, but then you can also take it internally and be working with, you know, whatever is going on systemically that's involved in that infection, because we do have this, or I'll say I have this way sometimes of thinking, oh, that's my eye, or that's my tooth, or, you know, we like kind of focus on it as this like something that's removed, or, you know, that specific part, but of course they're all connected. So if something's going on in the eye chronically, or in a tooth chronically, it's oftentimes being affected by a meridian, and there's more going on systemically. Thank you, and I hope it feels better.
Yeah, thanks, Lila. That was very helpful. And just to add to the cabbage juice, so just a very brief discussion about that. You can find videos on how to make it online, and all it is, if anyone's ever made sauerkraut or you're familiar with that process, it's very similar to the sauerkraut process, but it doesn't take as long, because instead of just shredding the cabbage, you're blending it together. And so you've got more surface area to ferment faster. And it's really the water that has the fermented probiotic stuff in it, which is very helpful for reestablishing gut microbiome, to dealing with infections and surface things as well. So I haven't used it extensively, but I have used it enough to really enjoy it. You know, it seems to be a great thing to kind of have around. And like Lila said, it's so cheap, you know, just cabbage, salt, and water, and you got it. You know, you just need a few days time to ferment it, and kind of depends on the temperature that your room is and how quickly it ferments, but usually it's been between like 2 to 4 days, and you've got as much as you want to make in one go. And yeah, it's very helpful. So I think there's like a name for it, like Rejuvelac or something, or just fermented cabbage juice, or fermented cabbage remedy. You can find information about it, videos on YouTube, and more stuff there. So yeah, thanks, Lila. I appreciate that suggestion as well. And yeah, I'll pass it back to you, Leah, and see if you have any comments there.
Again, thank you so much, Lila and Justin. Like, such a wealth of knowledge, and really appreciate, like, I really from the heart appreciate. I've come to the right place for advice. So I'm just ever so grateful to all of you, and or I guess I could just allow it to naturally work its way out. And see, I just sort of like be a bit more, I guess, caring towards myself, and also about the meridian and the systemic component and how it's all connected. Yep, completely get all that too. That's phenomenal. So I thank you. And just to also steer into another direction, another branch of it, this is while you were talking about all this other stuff going on, and I think it's going to really test us all as everything gets hotter and hotter, and more triggering for everybody. It's really, really comforting to see, Justin, how you manage and navigate through this. I think we can all take a leaf out of that book, and we just got to hold steady to what is really important, and that is the love. And while we can disagree, because there's a lot of people that I go to for information, and a lot of the times they trigger me, because I do agree or see eye to eye with what they're saying, and I get where they're coming from, and I try to be as open as I possibly can to the different perceptions, knowing that our perceptions are not always the truth. that we sort of stay strong in the one purpose, and that is to bring back the love and the right way of being, as being in human bodies, but also connecting with our spirit and our higher selves, that we even though we disagree or don't see eye to eye on a lot of things that people are saying, that we still have an open heart towards them, and understand that they're obviously wounded or hurt or whatever, and they're working through what they need to learn to get to a space where we can all actually get to a place where we're all on the same page. So I think we're all going to be tested as to how serious we are with walking the walk and talking the talk, walking the talk, and being Christed and being Christ-like and following the way. So I just wanted to add that as well. So thank you so much for listening and giving me the space to be myself.
Well, thanks, Leah. I'm so grateful that you show up here and you've been here, and it's always so wonderful to have your frequency mix in. And yeah, thanks for those kind words. It's it has been something that I know that I've been born with, this ability to maintain calm regardless of what's happening around me. At times it freaks people out because at times where most people are freaking out, I'm not. But you know, it's just part of how I am. And I appreciate the acknowledgement, and yeah, just that is my superpower. If I had to have one, it's just being calm in all moments. So thank you. And yeah, and what a beautiful message of getting back to the simplicity of what we're here to do, which is to remember. That's it. Just remember who you are. Remember that you are an aspect of this God goodness that permeates everything and created everything. And you're here to step in as the highest expression of your unique aspect, your frequency that you chose to embody. How can I embody that in as creative and as beautiful a way as possible, and share that love, share that light? That's it. That's the Great Awakening wrapped up in a nutshell. And everything else is wonderful. But, you know, if we get anything that takes us away from the simplicity of that, is, you know, it's a tool of the Antichrist, which wants to steer us into separation, division, and, you know, all the not so fun aspects that come with that. So let's come back to the realization and how simple is it? It's not always easy. It's certainly not easy, but it's certainly simple. So thanks for that, Leah. And yeah, I will pass it back and see if anyone else wants to jump in with a question or a comment, something to share, or whatever's on your heart. So feel free.
Just one more comment about the eye and the teeth and the systemic thing. Also, I just felt moved to mention that oftentimes there's a humongous emotional component to these things, and you know, an infection in the eye, I guess I might ask, like, is there something that you don't want to see, or something that it pains you to see, which was kind of actually what you said about, you know, the situation that Justin was explaining, Rollin, and so on. So how interesting. But that would be something that I've been really taught by my mentors, including Dorta, who is a dentist who really works with the meridians and the teeth and what they mean. And she's really come to the place after all these years of advocating to be reminded and to remind ourselves, like, what is the emotional component here, and remembering how much that can be causing these issues in our body. So just felt moved to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lila. Honestly, you have a special place in my heart, Lila. Because I had a bit of a chuckle because when you said that, there's something that I didn't want to see. I actually said that to myself before I hopped on. Like and I was sort of, it's sort of itchy, so I kind of feel like it's kind of getting better. Anyway, and I kind of pull down the lid. It's my left eye, by the way. And pulled down the lid, and I saw this white little spot, and I thought, yeah, that's the infection trying to come out. That's obviously the body's way to remove it. And it is what we're talking about it now, because I've actually acknowledged the fact that there's something that I don't want to see, and that is there's quite a few things that I don't want to see, but I do know, I am aware of them, and I think now that I've said that and it's come out in the open, it's kind of made my eye feel better, strangely enough. So it's all connected. You're so right.
Oh, yeah. And we can use these medicines that we have from God and the earth to support and clarify and clear up. But we can also use our words and our consciousness as we're doing that. So, say if you were applying the colloidal silver gel, and then you could use a mantra or whatever you want to call it, affirmation of like, I'm now able, I'm safe enough. Maybe I'm safe enough to see what I haven't wanted to, or even though it irritates me to see these things, I'm still very open to seeing them, because I'd rather see than be blind, in the dark to it. Just so, it doesn't have to be either or, it's both. It could be both. And thank you so much for sharing and having that question, because this is such a wonderful example for other people to learn from. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it truly is. What a great revelation, and the power of speaking to it, and what that means. That's like what I spoke about in the song Decode, about how we have to see the loop in order to break from it. So to have that acknowledgement, to see, okay, wherever I've been looping, that's the step necessary to get to that spark, so the fire can start. That's the commitment to say, okay, I'm sparking this readiness, and I'm ready to end this loop and break free from this cycle and expand, to spiral out. So thanks for reflecting on that. And yeah, that's a great example. So yeah, I'll just pass it back and see if anybody else wants to jump in. All right. Well, I've got quite a few offline questions, but I'm going to jump to some of them that are more current as far as like what's going on. So I had a question from Beth on the stimulus checks, or the post that Trump has made about $2,000 towards anyone as a benefit for the tariffs that are coming in. And so she was asking my thoughts. She sent a video about someone who was speaking their thoughts, but also questioning, where is this coming from? Is this a trap kind of thing? Being very reserved for accepting something like this. And so what I sent back to Beth, and what I'd love to talk about, is this is what we're seeing is the testing the waters of returning the wealth back to all of us. So as we know, or many of us know, we've had an insane amount of wealth stolen from us from the moment we were born, and even long before. Generationally, it's been stolen from us. Wealth created off of our name and off of our struggles and off of the things we've gone through this corporation that's been set up, using our birth name as a corporation, a capitalized piece of thing to trade. And through that system, there's been insane wealth generated for our slave masters in the system. And we've, through unawareness, ignorance, we've bought into it. And so the wealth of the wicked is saved up for the righteous. So that's what's being returned to us, and that's what programs like Nasara, which was tried to be implemented back in 2001, we're going to have a form of that be unleashed on the world, where all our wealth is returned to us, and all these artificially induced struggles of this idea of scarcity that is such fabricated nonsense, because this earth is abundant. It's designed to be abundant. It's designed to have more than enough for everyone involved. And yet we have this false scarcity idea imposed onto us, which creates the dynamics of the dog eat dog and makes for a better slave controlling reality. When you make people believe that there's a finite amount of resources, and then you control those resources. So that's been the idea for a long time, certainly the past 100 years. And so part of this stimulus check is testing the waters of how will people respond when they receive a no strings attached money to them directly, just as a thank you for being a part of this, So what I told her, and why I know many people will have reservations, especially those who are deep in the truth or reality, they'll be very skeptical about this. And the example I used was, it's like someone who has only known romantic relationships with narcissists, which is often the case until that individual has healed to move out of that frequency. They will attract that narcissistic energy, and so the pattern repeats. And so for that individual who has only known that form of not even love, but that form of relationship, they're going to be somewhat jaded and skeptical of anything else that shows up, because with a narcissist, anything that happens that appears to be good, there's always a string attached. There's always a catch. There's always some trick to be wary of. And when you've experienced enough of that trauma, you're very vigilant against going through that trick again. And so if somebody comes along and they offer you genuine, unconditional love, you reject it because you don't trust it. You feel like there's a string attached. And no matter what the individual does to say to you, to reveal to you, to show you, we might still reject it and say, I don't trust that. So that's what the white hats are dealing with. We've been in this narcissistic relationship with the cabal, who has been, using and abusing us, but also with this sort of Stockholm syndrome of us falling in love with our captors, because it's the only thing we've ever known. So we think that's just how it's always been. So it's how it should be. So the white hats are delicately trying to shift this psychological attachment and also have us regain. So one, by showing us the depths of the monster that's been controlling our lives, that has to be exposed to us. But then on the other end, not throwing people into a state of complete apathy or despair, which is what many of the black pillars are falling into. This state of absolute despair, that there is no good. It's all fucked up. So it's a tough road to walk. It's a tough balance to hold. So that's what they're doing with this is I'm sure testing it to some degree. They are providing some relief to those who are struggling. It is unfortunate that it's not happening in the whole world, but it's got to start somewhere. And this is what moving towards that direction, so that we can be better prepared for the moment when we have, from what I've been reported, upwards of millions of dollars just show up in our bank account, free for us to use, no strings attached. So this is just warming people up to that idea and getting us more comfortable with that, because there are good people and they are returning our wealth back to us, and there are no strings attached in that. But how do we let go of that belief, that sort of skepticism from the trauma that we have experienced? So yeah, that's my thoughts on the stimulus check. So thanks for that question, Beth. And I'll pass it back and see if anyone else wants to jump in. We've got time for maybe just one or two more questions today. I do have to end fairly soon, so I will just pass it over and see if anyone else wants to ask. All right. Well, here's another one that's, I know, been at least more on the forefront given what people have been witnessing in recent days. And so this is from Cheryl, and she's asking about the Aurora Borealis, or the Northern Lights. And so she's asking, could it mean that the pole is shifting and the grid lines in the Earth's frequency are rising? How could that affect us? So it's very much related to the center pole. There's no North Pole, because we don't live on a ball, we live on a level plane, and there's a center of this. There's a magnetic center, which is what the sun and the moon revolve around, the stars as well. The North Star, Polaris, magnetic Polaris, that is the magnetic center. That's the center of where this comes from, and that's where why the Northern Lights are visible the closer you get to the North Pole, or the center pole. And it is a phenomenon that's not, I don't have a sure answer on exactly why these things happen, but I do have some ideas that make a lot of sense. And I do think that there are layers within this creation that will perhaps always remain somewhat of a mystery. And that's part of the magic, and I have never seen the Aurora Borealis, sadly. I've never witnessed it. But I mean, videos and pictures, and I can only imagine, that's real magic. You're witnessing magic. So it doesn't need a definitive explanation around what's happening. But from what I have heard and what people have put forward, it has something to do with the black sun underneath the Earth, and perhaps movement of that, which that affects both the sun and the moon above the Earth. And that's what some have described as why the Freemason compass symbol has that projection on there, where you have the two triangles going downward, meeting at the black sun, and then it's projecting outwards, the 2 points magnetically aligned as the moving sun and moon. So the Aurora Borealis is, in my opinion, it's something to do with the friction of these energy bodies and the sort of magical light show that we get from it. Maybe with no other purpose other than just for our enjoyment, because how beautiful are they? So she's asking if this has to do with the pole shift, which is very possible, because the pole is shifting ever so slowly, not extreme movements as some doomsday people would have you believe. But it does shift slightly. There is a trajectory for the magnetic center to move. And that does seem to be happening, where we're going to be, and I'm not talking about quickly, but in the next few hundred years, we'll see the pole shift from where it is, not dramatically, but slowly over time, moving to where actually that's why so much talk has been around like Greenland and the Arctic, and Trump saying we need to have control over this and all of that, because that whole area is going to be getting warmer and warmer. The U.S., America, is actually going to be getting warmer and warmer. At some point, it will become tropical, because the center pole is actually going to be moving over Russia, over that area. So depending on what actually happens at the center pole, which is restricted space that you don't actually go to, it could either be getting much colder or potentially much warmer. It could be a very warm climate at the center. We're not entirely sure. But anyway, that's the mapped trajectory of the pole's movement, which is exciting because it means that, you know, this whole landmass will be getting warmer, slowly warmer over time, which I'm certainly appreciative of. And yeah, so does that shifting have something to do with the Aurora Borealis? I'm sure it does. I'm sure it absolutely does. I don't know exactly how that's connected, but I'm sure it does. And so she's asking, how could that affect us? Well, it's all connected. So every shift within creation not only affects, but it's like parallel to the shifts happening within us. So whether you want to say that we're causing the shifts in the external or the shifts are causing what's happening within us, it's really both one and the same. It's all part of us. So of course this shift displayed in the external is going to very much represent the shifts that are happening internally within us, because as above, so below, as within, so without. So yeah, that would be my answer to that question. Great question there.
Just sent you a pic.
Oh, go ahead.
I just sent you a pic there. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, thanks for that. Let me pull that up and share that. Yeah, so there you go. There's been the movement until now, and if it keeps moving on that line, interesting. This little, I guess this could be like, I don't know what this line represents. This this pink and purple line. Oh, that's where it started. Interesting. So it like changed direction. I'm not sure about this. Who knows? Like, who knows about this information? But there is documented movement. As far as what happened even before 1871, it gets really dark really fast as far as like the accuracy of information. So prior to this time, I don't know about all this, maybe, but it could just be a simple trajectory. And if it keeps going on this line, then that's where it's moving towards. And so this is the last 100 years, if this is accurate. And so in 100 years from now, it could potentially be over here. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Do you have any more information you want to share from what you've learned?
So, the way that they're able to map out where the North Pole was is because the minerals in the water, when the minerals freeze because of rain or precipitation, they're magnetized, and so the water lays down in a specific direction, and the minerals in the water point in a certain direction, and so they're able to dig through the ice layers and take core samples and then detect which way the ice is pointing, which, toward north. And that's how they're able to map out or extrapolate where the North Pole was in the previous time periods. So as far as what we can tell, the North Pole tends to sit and just kind of bounce around in a certain vicinity, but it doesn't really move linearly too much. And then when we enter a new age, then that's when it starts moving in that straight line, and it starts moving faster and faster. So it has made more progress since say 2012. It's made more progress then than it did in the last 100 years. And so it's so in the next 100 years or the next 50 years, it should move 3 times as much as it has in the last 25, to the point where eventually it's going to become noticeable to the general public. So it's moving away from us toward Russia. So that means that the southern ice wall is going to start crawling up South America. But then on the other side of the world, that ice wall is going to get pushed back, and the puddle is just going to kind of move to the next location. Is the ice going to melt quicker than it builds up? We don't know. Does that explain the mud flood? We don't know. But this is the same. This problem has the same, or if it even is a problem, because a lot of times we're trained to think in doomsday scenarios, especially scientific thinking. So science, their thinking starts with a disaster, the Big Bang, right? A big explosion. That's a disaster. So for them, they always end in a disaster. So a lot of times that's just the way they think. And a lot of these problems, we think about and they don't materialize. So there may be a smooth transition. That would be wonderful. There's also a lot of historical data to suggest that you can actually walk ahead of the change, right? That you can actually run faster than it's going to happen. Because even if you look at these lines, you could walk faster than that distance, right? It's not moving greater than 20 miles an hour. It's moving 20 miles every few years. So you can walk faster than that. You could build a boat and paddle quicker than that. That's not a problem. And there's a lot of historical evidence to show that we've migrated faster than these things have occurred in the past. But even if it was a problem, which it probably won't be, these problems are overcome by exercising faith. That's the solution to all problems, faith. And so faith is greater than the physical construct of reality because it's a spiritual substance. So just exercise faith, and let's see what exciting changes the movie has to offer.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. Well, thanks for that. And I saw Tom also raise his hand. I'd love to hear your perspective on this. Go ahead.
Hi, Justin, and everyone else. How's things? Yeah, so in this research and study that I've done, where they show that the moon is the map of the Earth, they say that there is a center point, obviously, but then another ring around that center point, and our sun and moon rotate around a magnetic pole that is rotating around the center pole, basically. And what I understand is that is moving at a rate of 1 degree every 72 years. And so, like Darth just said, it's like the movement is very, very slow, and so over the last 72 years, it's creeped 1 degree, and I'm not sure which direction, kind of thing. I guess sounds like more, maybe it could be going anti-clockwise. But to me that makes a lot of sense that's how the Earth works. But we could be coming to a time when that expands, and maybe that cycle of having a smaller space that it's inhabitable is going to be bigger. I'm not sure, but just thought I'd give that perspective too. And then the the magnetic north and the energy of the black sun, it's like, as Soundgarden said, black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? I mean, there's got to be something to that, like maybe there's something there where every so often the black sun appears and, resets this whole Earth. Who knows? So, just another view of everything.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So just to go off of that, because I've heard the same of the moon being the map of the larger Earth, larger Terra. So the portion that we have available to us of this larger Earth, I don't have pictures immediately available, but we're on a very small, the ring that exists bound within the ice wall is only a small portion of the larger Terra. So maybe, so you have a large area that is, at least as far as we know, or we believe based on this model, is covered by ice because there's no sun exposure for that. And then you have a magnetic center with the sun and the moon moving in rotational pattern around this magnetic center. And that magnetic center, also there's a true north, or a true center, magnetic center, that hand of the clock, if you will, which is the circle available to us now. That circle is moving counterclockwise or clockwise, depending on how you look at it, around this larger ring. And every time that it moves, every time that the pole shifts, then the ice walls, as Darth described, are going to shift as well, to where, say, the pole is moving this direction, then the ice wall over here is going to melt because the sun's trajectory is moving over that direction. And then the ice wall over here is going to freeze because there's less sun exposure. And so that's what keeps this ring of exposure, ring of life, moving and showing us new areas. And that's why it is exciting, because, and there's lots of talk of, in this quote unquote Antarctica, which is not a real place, but it's describing the ice wall and it's sort of shifting. But there's often discussions of ancient relics and structures and things found in Antarctica, because as the pole shifts and as the ice melts, it's exposing what we did however long ago. So by the great year standards, it would be 25,000 years ago. So yeah, it's kind of exciting to have these kind of things happen, because we get to rediscover, okay, what did we do 25,000 years ago, if that's the right timeline? The last time that this layer of the Earth was exposed and then wasn't under the ice. So yeah, it's very fascinating to look into and to see more of. And yeah, I guess we'll see. Maybe there are periods where it moves faster and slower, and the whole black sun portion of it as well. That would make sense to have that emerge, and maybe that's what it allows the larger sort of ice enclosed area to expand further. If you had another sun, another warm body, adding heat to the experience, which would just be, in simple terms, just God giving us a greater playground to play in. I've used the example before of it's possible that these cycles force us to come back together when we have drifted into the antichristic ideas of separation to such an extent where we're allowing, I mean, it's crazy to talk about. We're allowing child sacrificing monsters to run our world. When we allow that to happen, and we're so separate and divided and fallen in such a state where we've got these monsters controlling society, it's just us, when we've allowed ourselves to fall into that, then perhaps the Earth that is exposed by the ice, perhaps the mechanisms force it to shrink so that we get our shit together, so that evil has less room to hide in and do its evil deeds, and we have less room to avoid what's right in front of us. And then maybe when we come back into harmony again, maybe that's what signals, or maybe it's just aligned with the natural patterns for the Earth to expand and us to have more area to work with, more area to play in, so we can explore. And then maybe that's where you get the remnants of the giant trees and remnants of giant realities, where we used to be giants and there were giant animals, and not dinosaurs, not that farce, but they took bones of these larger creatures and tried to say that they were dinosaurs. So, it's like, it's a never ending journey here, and it's always exciting, always fascinating, always wonderful. And so let's just keep exploring and keep learning. And yeah, like Darth mentioned, keep the faith. keep the faith. We don't need to fall into fear. Whatever needs to happen is going to, and I'm here for it. So anyway, that's I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Justin, I've just shared some images onto JC Family. I'm not sure how to put them in the chat here. So, but yeah, there's some images there. People can go and look at that sort of show the moon map of the Earth and how the sun and moon are rotating over a certain section at the moment, kind of thing. So yeah, I think you're spot on with what you were saying too. Like, I think, you know, like there's buildings here in Australia that are clearly not built by convicts within 30 or 40 years. Or like they say, maybe it took, I don't know, maybe 50 years or something to build some of these things. But like I went to a tour recently of the Parliament House here in Victoria, and the tour guide was telling us that it was built within 1 year. And I was just like, okay. The ceiling in the main chamber of that building is adorned with plaster like giant angels, each holding different things. Like one I could clearly see had a sword and scales, so you know that was representing Libra. You know, it's just beautiful astrological imagery carved into plaster in the ceiling of this building, and they say that we built this as a bunch of convicts. Like, it's not real, you know. It can't be. It's not the truth, you know. Like, these buildings were there, and like you said, like the Earth freezes over at certain times and then becomes available again, you know, and they just move back into the old buildings. That's the way I see it. But anyway, pass back over.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks for these images too. So yeah, this is exactly what I was describing to show this sort of larger Terra, larger Earth, and the exposed area that we have to work with at any given time. So this slowly moves around in a circle, so exposing other areas from the ice at different times, thousands of years in between. So here's some more images to reflect that of perhaps the larger land masses that are often under the ice and what it looks like when we go through that. And this is where, you know, some people suspect like Mount Meru is at the center of centers in perhaps a space that's forever untouched by the ice. You know, that's yeah, that's often speculated and could very well be true. Here's another image to show, you know, the ice and the Earth. So what we think of as the Earth and perhaps this larger landmass underneath ice, and as it moves, then that will be more exposed and we can shift into it. And again, it's not, doesn't seem like it's chaotic and fast, though there are certainly representations of cataclysms that have happened, but it seems like it's largely a slow moving thing. So it's not like we have to rush to get out. But if that is the case and it's moving that way, yeah, as Darth mentioned, South America might become covered by ice before eventually, if we're moving that direction. And yeah, so we'll see on that, but it wouldn't be overnight. And then here's another one, just kind of showing that idea. So, I mean, this shows it on a ball, which I don't know why they show it that way, but it's not a ball, it's a level plane. Maybe this is just a weird image, but it's a level plane that is potentially unlimited, but we do have certain areas that yeah. So anyway, it's fascinating stuff, and again, we don't have definite answers on all of this, but it's certainly fun to go over and talk about. So thanks for that. And yeah, so this has been a great discussion. I do unfortunately have to end it now because I want to get to the times to play the songs to play us out today. So I just wanted to say how much I appreciate everyone for chiming in today. Again, I want to make this get back onto the regular schedule, and I love touching base with you guys. And so I can't make any promises on that. So we'll see how next week unfolds, but that is my aim to do. And as far as a watch party, I do want to start doing those again. I think we're going to be having one tomorrow night, but stay tuned for a post out tomorrow for that. It'll be at the same time we normally do on 8 o'clock Eastern. And yeah, so let's just briefly, well, I do need to go, so I'm not going to have time for the lyrical breakdown of these two Bruce Springsteen songs. Maybe I do. Let's just go over them real quickly. Let's see. Where are we? So I'm just going to share screen here. Okay, so just real quickly. So we're going to play Thunder Road as the first song. So the screen door slams, Mary's dress sways. Like a vision, she dances across the porch as the radio plays. So Mary, the mother, the sacred feminine, the screen door slams. Maybe this is like signifying when thou hast pray, go into thy closet. Meditation going within. Roy Orbison singing for the lonely. Roy Orbison. I mean, the orb, the golden ore, there's a lot to potentially unpack there with that name. Hey, that's me. I want you only. Don't turn me home again. I just can't face myself alone again. So I want you only, as in the divine, to come back or to connect with that divine essence, the Mary. Don't run back inside, darling. You just know what I'm here for. So asking her to stay. So you're scared and you're thinking that maybe we ain't that young anymore. Show a little faith. There's magic in the night. You ain't a beauty, but hey, you are right. So it's not about surface level appearances, but you're all right, as in all right. Oh, and that's all right with me. You can hide neath your covers and study your pain. Make crosses from your lovers. Throw roses in the rain. Waste your summer playing in the vein for a savior to rise from these streets. Well, now I'm no hero. That's understood. So it's sort of playing against the savior idea that mainstream religion pushes. All the redemption I can offer, girl, is beneath this dirty hood, with a chance to make it good somehow. Hey, what else can we do now? Yeah, what else is there to do? Except roll down the window and let the wind blow back your hair while the night's busting open. These two lanes will take us anywhere. We got one last chance to make it real. So these two lanes will take us anywhere. Two lanes is in the twofold river within the Yidid Limpingala, the masculine and the feminine essence within us. We got one last chance to make it real, to trade in these wings on some wheels. So perhaps the fallen state, climbing back, heaven's waiting down on the tracks. So it's down the long, straight and narrow path. Uh-oh, come take my hand. We're riding out tonight to case the promised land. So we're riding out as in we're going within, connecting to that divine feminine essence and experiencing that. Oh, Thunder Road. Oh, Thunder Road. Oh, Thunder Road. So Thunder Road being the lightning and thunder, these divine inspirations. So Thunder Road is the path to get there by going within. Lying out there like a killer in the sun, SUNSON. Hey, I know it's late. We can make it if we run. Oh, Thunder Road, sit tight. Take hold, Thunder Road. Well, I got this guitar and I learned how to make it talk. And my car's out back if you're ready to take that long walk. From your front porch to my front seat, the door's open, but the ride, it ain't free. And I know you're lonely for words that I ain't spoken, but tonight will be free. All the promises will be broken. There were ghosts in the eyes of all the boys you sent away. They haunt this dusty beach road in the skeleton frames of burned out Chevrolets. They scream your name at night in the street. Your graduation gown lies in rags at their feet. And in the lonely cool before dawn, you hear their engines roaring on. But when you get to the porch, they're gone on the wind. So Mary, climb in. It's a town full of losers, and I'm pulling out here for win. Pulling out here to win. So Thunder Road is like it's like an initiation. You're becoming illuminated and becoming aware and asking Mary to stay with you. So it's the choice to stay in the old way or step into this new way, the way. So yeah, that's what that song represents to me, at least. And then the next one, The River, just like the river within. I come down in the valley where, mister, when you're young, they bring you up to do like your daddy done. Me and Mary, we met in high school when she was just 17. We were right out of this valley down to where the fields were green. So green is heart, 17 is Q. All these are, again, these sort of initiatory, elevating symbology woven in here. They bring you up to do like your daddy done, to follow our Father's guiding light. We'd go down to the river, and into the river we'd dive, or down to the river we'd ride. So again, the river is this divine essence flowing along to bring us into the way. Then I got Mary pregnant, and man, that was all she wrote. And for my 19th birthday, 19 is surrender, I got a union card and a wedding coat. We went down to the courthouse, and the judge put it all to rest. No wedding day smiles, no walk down the aisle, no flowers, no wedding dress. That night we went down to the river, and into the river we dive. Oh, down to the river we did ride. I got a job working construction for the Johnstown company, but lately there ain't been much work on account of the economy. Now all them things that seem so important, well, mister, they vanished right into the air. Now I just act like I don't remember, and Mary acts like she don't care. So could be showing the fallen state, or just the disconnection from society. No longer worried about the Johnstown company and the economy, perhaps. But I remember us riding in my brother's car, her body tan and wet down at the reservoir. At night on the banks, I'd lie awake and pull her close just to feel each breath she'd take. Now those memories come back to haunt me. They haunt me like a curse. Is a dream a lie if it don't come true, or is it something worse than send me down to the river? That sends me down to the river, though I know the river is dry. That sends me down to the river tonight. Down to the river, my baby and I. Oh, down to the river we ride. So, yeah, I mean, it's like they tasted salvation. They tasted the way, and we're riding that river, but then they let it die within them. So the river ran dry. So it's the river's this etheric channel of representing our divine connection, and here they let it run dry. So yeah, another great song, another fun one to play us out with. And again, thank you all for being here today. So I'm going to play these two songs and we'll wrap up, and yeah, we'll keep on doing these. So feel free to submit any questions if you like, comments on things, send me a message any which way you can reach me, and we'll keep going. So I love you all so very much, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.